This conference will now be recorded.
Very good. All right, folks, so you see here that it says on our smartboard here, the integumentary system. So we know that this not only just includes the skin, okay, but other accessory structures that are. Folks, when you guys are ready later on there, if you don't have one of these, you can come up and grab one, okay? All right. So you'll see here that the hair, the nails, oil and sweat glands, right? So these are all very important as far as the function of the integumentary system. Okay? So we'll look at a little bit more regarding what we would consider the skin, actually. Okay. So there's 3 layers, but only 2 of those layers are really what are comprising the skin. So if we look over here, this area right here, these are sections, areas in the body. Okay. So here you'll see the palm or the soles of your feet, right? So this would be thick skin. Everywhere else on your body, you would have thin skin. So thick skin, and that's why you see this thicker layer right here. So everywhere on your body will be thin skin except for the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet, okay? And so on these models here that you're looking at, you can see, so this would be palm, sole of the feet. This would be the axilla, the armpits. And this area would be the scalp. So the scalp would represent pretty much primarily all the rest of the body as far as the skin. And the armpit is unique in that it has specific types of sweat glands different from all over on the body, okay? So that's why there's a little bit of a difference there. So they're showing you 3 different areas of skin on those models. Skin, largest surface area of any organ. Imagine that, right? That it protects, it provides a barrier, very important as far as our skin is concerned. I mentioned to you all, as far as this epidermis, this outer layer of skin. So you'll see here that it lists the epidermis and the dermis. The dermis is that deeper layer. So if we look at this here on our models, so we have the epidermis is all here. In through here, it's kind of like a tannish color. Then here, this would be considered, where my hand is, would be considered the dermis. So the epidermis, the dermis. The epidermis is what you see, it's what you view. What everybody sees when they look at you, that's your epidermis. The dermis is a deeper layer, having connective tissues, having other structures, as you can see present in through here, other than just the epidermis just has this epithelial tissue, much different than what's going on in this layer. And then the last layer, the deepest layer, which is not considered the skin, but a supportive area, would contain adipose tissue. That's where you see those light pale yellow bubbles on the model. Adipose tissue, and there's also another type of tissue that's present there that acts like a packing type tissue. So very important, called areolar connective tissue. So here we're looking at, I'll show you on the screen here again on a couple of slides. So here you're seeing again, this would be considered the epidermis. Epidermis. Everything else deep within, the dermis. So those 2 layers, when we're thinking of skin, the epidermis and the dermis, that's considered the skin. The hypodermis is this area right deep in through in here. The hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous layer. So those of you online, this would be the hypodermis, also known as the subcutaneous layer. That's not considered skin, it's a supportive layer to the skin. This is a pretty cool image that you're looking at right here. You're just seeing the dead flattened cells of a shaft of hair. And realizing that, we talked about this in one of the classes, the past 2 classes, that your hair, deep within, it's alive. What's this out here? It's dead, okay? And we have oil producing glands right here. See this pink? That oil producing gland will allow for oil to be on the shaft of the hair in order to keep it soft and not for it to dry out. So those of you online here, we're seeing this structure right here is the oil producing gland for this shaft of hair. And know that it's only deep within. So this bulb right here, deep within, and you're seeing the yellow represents nerves that are attached to the hair. Because folks, we talked about, right, that if we do this to our hair, we're not touching the skin, but we touch the hairs, we can actually feel that. And that's protective as far as if we have something crawling on us or walking on us, we can feel that, right? Freaks you out a little bit, but you know, it's a good protective mechanism. So that's a good thing. So just with any other tissue that we have within the body, there are going to be cells that are present that'll be able to, cells and glands, as you see there on the bottom, cells that are going to be present that are very important for this integumentary system to function. You'll see here where it says keratinocytes and melanocytes. So the melanocytes are pigment producing, okay? And keratinocytes produce a protein called keratin. Right? So keratin is very important. Keratin, your hair. Keratin, your nails. Very important protein that's present. So those keratinocytes, they produce keratin. The melanocytes, they produce the pigment that gives us our different shades of colors that we are. And sweat glands and oil glands. The sweat glands can have different names. The oil glands can have different names, but if you just know at this point in time that they're producing sweat or they're producing oil, that's important. Something interesting of note is that I said to you before that the axilla, your armpit, has different types of sweat glands than the glands that are all over your body. So the sweat glands that are all over your body produce like this very white, very light, very thin, watery substance that's sweat, okay? We all experience this. But how about what goes on as far as in the axilla, in your armpits? It's a little bit of a different kind of an oily type of a sweat, a bit. And also, what will happen is that in those areas, in the armpits, also in the pubic region, there are these types of sweat glands that actually bacteria like what they produce. And bacteria then, as a result of them doing what they do, can produce what? An odor. Especially now, like, so younger people who are prepubescent, before puberty, those glands are not active. But once they hit puberty, right, that's a different thing. And you can definitely tell when you remember being in junior high and in gym class, things change. And odor is what it is. But that's as a result of these bacteria that like to eat what goes on is the product, what goes on as far as that sweat and it's present within those areas, in the hairs and in those sweat glands. So unique. So here's some common disorders. A blister, you have an idea because, hey, so you're doing some yard work outside, you haven't done some yard work in a while, and what occurs like after you're like rubbing and doing some raking or whatever, or doing some shoveling, you'll end up developing some blisters as a result of the work on your skin. Acne. Acne also, what goes on is that there's infections that take place within the hair follicles that can then end up getting pretty bad. Some people have acne much worse than others. We get that. We know that. We've seen that. And genetics can be a role in that. Not so much like your diet and what you eat. That's not really what's going to affect it as much as just what's going on genetically within and what's going on as far as even after puberty and such. There can be issues with acne type sores for a long time. Herpes virus. So herpes, whether it's on your mouth, right, in the oral area, or on your in the genital region, right? These can be affected as far as they're a virus and they can be transmitted. So kissing, that can transmit it, right? If you have a herpes sore that's open and you were to kiss someone, that could then transmit that virus to another person. If you have sexual relations with someone while there is a open sores, as far as these herpes viral sores, then this can also spread this to other people. And unfortunately, what goes on is that these don't go away. They'll have times where they'll be not so bad and maybe asymptomatic, but then there'll be times, especially when someone's under a lot of stress, where then their immunity will be suppressed and these sores can come out. That's spelled wrong. So this should be vitiligo. Vitiligo. So, yeah, the L in the. Let me look at it. Vitiligo. That's how it's spelled. Okay? And so with vitiligo, I'll spell that correctly on the PowerPoint here. Nope. This. Back. There we go. So you can correct that there, folks, at home on your computers. Okay. So vitiligo, you've seen it before. It's not just relegated to those that have a darker complexion. Those that have any complexion whatsoever, doesn't matter. Right? What happens is that you'll see here, melanocytes will die. So what do I say melanocytes produce? They're melanin-producing cells. They produce pigment. Right? So whatever pigment you may be, we all throughout the room here, we have different shades of skin color. Local, that's just the melanocytes are producing as a result of genetics the different skin colors that we present with. And can that also change a little bit if we're outside? Absolutely. Exposure to the sun, UV rays, absolutely. But what will happen is that the melanin producing cells die and that leaves white patches on the skin. Now, this is an autoimmune disorder. It's an autoimmune disorder. So what does that mean? That means that your body, for whatever reason, is attacking those melanocytes and destroying them and affecting how they properly produce the melanin that allows for you to have skin color and skin tone. All right. So, it is what it is. So my wife and her brother, both very close in my skin tone, they both have vitiligo on their arms and the legs a little bit there too. It can be genetic, and it can be just genetic mutation. So yes, go ahead. Yes, yeah. So it can be throughout the body. Yeah. I think it can actually, because what can occur is that in those areas where there's no melanin present, it can affect also the hair. But I don't think all the time though. So I think that can be like a variable type of thing. Yeah. So just know this also, like with any type of genetic disorder, with any type of disease disorder, there can always be variations to the presentation. Yeah, indeed. But yep, that can occur. So these carcinoma and melanoma, these are both types of skin cancer. And I'll next time we're in class, I'll share with you all an image and a little bit of video regarding this. But skin cancer is something that really if you see something on your body that doesn't look right, if you see some changes that occur on your skin, especially in the different moles or different structures that you might have on your skin, or bumps, if they've changed, if they've gotten bigger, that needs to be looked at by a professional so that to make sure that you're okay, right? Cancer is common. Cancer is, I hate to say it, right? But skin cancer is very common. And so addressing them very early on and making sure that they're treated is a good thing. If we leave them alone and don't treat what's going on as far as these beginning of carcinoma or melanoma, this could be deadly. And in melanoma in particular is very deadly. But squamous cell, if not treated, can progress into more of a very serious disorder, cancer that can also spread to other areas of the body, and that's a bad thing always. Okay. So that was just a few of the slides regarding the skin. Okay, so folks, you all will have the opportunity, like I said, to be looking at the skin in more detail here in the lab, and you at home, you'll go online and Google search human skin and look at different images regarding that and try and review that, as well as I have provided for you all. Let's see here. This should be documents and resources. So those of you online are seeing that I do have skin labeled, skin unlabeled. So you will all do the unlabeled skin. You'll label that, and I'll create a another in coursework for the lab, particularly for that. Okay. There's already in coursework a assignment for the homeostasis lab. So folks, let's now look at this one right here, lab safety. So we're going to look at lab safety right at the moment. And I'm not going to put it up on the board. You all have it here in class, and I'm just going to review it as I talk to the online class as well as you all. So you'll see here that lab safety activity for general biology, okay? So this is very important to keep in mind that whatever we do here in the lab, right, you need to be safe, okay? I'm going to go over some different areas of where different things are for you to know that should be in the lab here. If there's ever an issue, please always come to your instructor, always come to me and let me know if there's a problem, okay? So I'm not going to read this. You folks are going to read this, okay? You're going to go through this and read it and such. And you'll see here that no open-toe shoes or sandals are allowed. They're not allowed. Be alert. Don't get hurt. Absolutely. And when needed, I will tell you when you need to use goggles. I'll let you all know here in class. All right. You'll see here that there's a bunch of different structures here that we're going to be looking at. So I'm going to go through them. So I'm going to go through here in the lab. So folks, you just bear with me for a moment online. So folks, we have, so when I'm here in the class, when I'm here in the classroom, I will make sure that that's unlocked. Will also be unlocked if it's closed. I like to keep it open, but if it's closed, it will be unlocked also. If there's ever an issue, we will, like if there's any kind of issue where there might be a dangerous situation, we would close the doors and lock the doors, right? We can also get out through this door over here. So this door over here leads to, as we go through a couple of different rooms, to room 216. If there was an emergency, we could do that, okay? So there are 3 ways to get out of this room, okay? You'll see here that there's all over here, there's a shower and an eye wash station. And so if there's anything that gets into your eye, there's a situation where you would get bad chemicals, that wouldn't happen in my lab, but just so that you know, that's right over here in the corner. The fire extinguisher right over here. The first aid kit is right here at my desk in the front. There are two doors that open up, and we have down and through here the first aid kit. We have the burn kit. We have the fire blanket, the mercury spill kit. There's also a spill kit in the back there. Look around. See that white with the green lettering, right? You'll see that there. The chemical fume hoods are located right here, so they're both operable. You'll see this one here on this side, on this side. Broken glass container. So we have a bucket right over here, right in the corner. Now for sharps, so if you have slides, so slides, microscopic slides, you can put them in there. But for anything that's sharp, so say like we were doing a dissection and you had something that was broken and it was, put it right, anything that's sharp can go in there, slides can go in there. But I would put them primarily in there. Emergency phone for 911 security. You can also, if you were to pick up this phone, you see here, 2455 for security. Okay, so boom, boom, put that in, and just make sure that you have on. So emergency evacuation from the lab for the class. So it all depends upon what's going on and where, right? Whether we go out there or we go out through one of these doors. Okay? We would have different noises go off, the alarms to let us know. Or we would have also information that would be sent to call us on the phone or on a rave alert. For the your cell phones, we all have rave alert, or you should. If you don't already, you should. That would also let us know if there's something going on campus that was a danger, or if school was closed as a result of whatever could happen here, or also you see here also that this is an emergency gas shutoff right here. Okay? So you do have, I would ask that you not mess with these gas burner jets here. Okay, so these gas jets, there's never a need to turn them on. We're not going to be using them at all. We have incinerators if we ever need anything. They're in that back hood over there. So we just don't use the gas. But in case we needed them, we haven't turned them off. So as far as like there is gas coming to them if we turn them on. And then we have a lockdown procedure as far as if we need to lock down, we close the doors, we step away, right? And we would hide behind the desk over furthest away from the door. That would just be, it's always important to think these things through and figure out what you need to do in case of an emergency. Proper use of equipment. Yeah, so anything we use, whether it's a burner, as far as you see hot plates there, so you see an image of a hot plate. So we may use a hot plate during the summer, during the semester, if we're doing a lab that might require that. We'll see what goes on depending upon what we're going to be doing. Also, like I said, we're using sharp instruments and such. So, please just make sure anytime we do whatever we do, we're doing it with thinking about what we're doing first and trying to do it as safely as possible. So also, these goggles over here. So here we have a station where we would open this up. There are goggles that we can use if needed. All right, they're over here, and they can be sanitized after use. So go to this page, page 3. Page 3. So I showed you where they are, the goggles, the eye wash station, the safety shower, the fire blanket, again down here in front on my side, the fire extinguisher over there by the door, first aid kit down here, chemical fume hoods are in the back, fire alarm, so fire alarm. Fire alarm would be out in the pool. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't really, I know that we have them, but they're not in the classroom stuff. They need to be in the hallway. Okay, and let's see here. So the spill kit again in the back, and there's front here, a broken glass container in the back, emergency exits, I showed you those 3. All right, so you'll see here then on this paper that you will, and you can work in groups as far as answer these questions. So you'll answer these questions on page 5 and on page 4. So page 4 and 5, you'll read through this and answer questions. And you'll see here on page 4, it's asking you, what would you do in this situation? So we're trying to get you to think a little bit and critically think about what would you do in this situation. Page 5, read through the question. You want to Google it and look it up, but think about it. You should be able to not have to Google it, but just think about what you should probably do in order to be safe. And then we'll go over this next week. Okay. So those of you online, you'll fill this out. Okay. I have put this for you all online. Let me just make sure that I come back to here in just a moment. Let's see. I'm in coursework here. Okay, folks that are online, I've posted the homeostasis lab. You can see that right there, and you'll click on that. The lab safety, you'll give me a few minutes and I'll post that when I'm done talking to everyone. Okay, so I will post in unit 1 for coursework. I'll post, actually, no, this is year 3. So let's go here. Let's see, I might have done it already. Bear with me just a moment, class. There's the homeostasis. I have other labs that I've not posted yet. So yeah, the lab safety I'll post for you all, and I'll make that available in Unit 1. All right, folks, so you'll follow the directions, look at this, answer that while we're in lab here today. The next thing you're going to do is we're going to look at the homeostasis lab. This lab right here. Those of you online, I'm going to share that image with you. There we go. So here's the homeostasis lab. So folks, this is, you'll read through, I would like you to read through this lab. We talked about homeostasis last lab. I said to you that via negative feedback, if your heart rate, your blood pressure, your pulse were to go up or to go down away from what it should be, your body will, through negative feedback, bring it up or bring it down to the set point of where it should be, right? To the healthy level of where it should be. Now, know that it's going to be a little bit different, that set point, when you're exercising than when you're just relaxing and just chilling out and relaxing, right? So you're going to read through this, and you're going to be taking a pulse. So we're going to be taking our radial pulse. So when we take our radial pulse, see the thumb? So everybody do this, like in front of you, okay? Palpate with your fingers, right? Touch with your fingers, about right here, past the wrist, closer to the shoulder, going towards more of the shoulder, right? Right here. And if you feel there, you're going to be able to palpate. So feel around a little bit, and be able to feel your radial pulse. So the bone that is this bone right here, where the thumb is, right? On that thumb side, that's your radius. So that radial pulse is going to be close to the wrist there. So you're going to feel that, palpate that, and you're going to check your pulse. How many of you have checked your pulse before? Right? Okay. And so if you have issues, let me know. I'll come on over. But you just got to play around a little bit, and you'll be like, oh, I feel it now. And you can feel the pulsations there. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to count. So pulsation-wise, to get 1 minute, if you were to count the pulse for 30 seconds, you would just multiply it by 2, and you'd have your pulse per minute. So if I checked my pulse and it was at 35, then what would that mean per minute? That would mean 70 beats per minute. Understood? You double 35. Understood? So that's what we're going to be checking is pulse rates. Now, what's going to happen, folks, is that we are going to be doing some things here. So you're going to see that. Let's go to, and what I'd like you to do, you can either use the clock up here, or you can use your phone. And so you can calculate as far as figuring out the time, or if you have a watch on, that's fine also. But look here as far as the procedure is concerned. So you can check your pulse in the radial artery. We talked about that, okay? Now, you'll see here that number 2 says, so look right here on page, let me get the page for you. Page 3. Actually, let's go. Yeah, let's go to page 4. Page 4 on your handout, it says procedure at the top of the page. It says procedure at the top of the page. And what you're going to do, number 1, you can check a pulse in the radial artery, right? Telling you how to do that. Number 2, let your lab partner sit in a resting position for several minutes. I'd say maybe about 5 minutes. Just let them sit. And then what you're going to do, you're going to take the pulse. Pulse rate is expressed in beats per minute, like I said. So if you count the beats for 30 seconds on some type of device, there you go. Then you just multiply it by 2, and that you've got the pulse rate, beats per minute. And you'll see here that most adults fall into the range of between 60 and 90 beats per minute. That value is going to be on where it says here, trial 1. See that? Trial 1 on the next page, on page 5. Number 3, try some vigorous activity for 3 minutes. You can walk quickly up and down the hall. I don't suggest running down the hall. You can kind of jog in place in here, or do some jumping jacks, or just walk in place, whatever you want to do. You can walk up and down the stairs, 3 minutes. Afterwards, and so here's what's going to happen, folks. You all here in class, everybody's going to do this. So one, you'll take turns. So first, that part, right? That part number one, one will be the exercises. And afterwards, then the scientists will then switch. They'll be the one exercising, and then this person will be doing it. So everybody's going to have value. Everybody's going to be recording value. So whatever you want to do for 3 minutes, it doesn't have to be crazy, you know? So it doesn't have to be where you're running really fast or but if you want to walk up and down the stairs, if you want to walk up and down the hall, it's fine. Want to do some jumping jacks in here? 3 minutes, remember that, okay? Whatever it is that you're doing. As you exercise, your cells require more oxygen from the extracellular fluid. So how do you think your heart will respond to this, to supply more oxygen to your cells in this situation? Well, what do you think? Yeah, your pulse is going to go up, is it not? You're going to have to be able to beat. Your heart's going to beat faster so it can send more oxygen to all the tissues of the body. So now that's so 4 here on your plan here. So measure pulse rate immediately on finishing this activity. So that's trial number 2. So you've taken trial number 1, you sat there for about 5 minutes. Trial number 2, you're going to exercise for 3 minutes. Immediately after that, you're going to take the person's pulse. Record that as far as trial number 2. Rest for 5 minutes. Measure your pulse rate again. Has it changed? Record your pulse rate after this 5-minute period. That's trial number 3. Okay, so that's the 3rd time now. So you rested for 5 minutes, took your pulse. Exercised for 3 minutes, took your pulse. Rested for 5 minutes after you're exercising. You rested for 5, take your pulse. That's 3. Now you're going to see here that repeat steps 3 through 5 2 more times by following step 6. So you're going to follow what goes on here, and as far as trials 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, and so you'll have 7 total. So you just follow that, and then once you're done exercising, then you're going to switch with the other person. They're going to do it, and they can do whatever they like. Okay, so you don't they can be if you're having some issues, you just want to just take a walk up and down the hallway, absolutely fine. 3 minutes. So follow the directions here. Folks at home, you'll either do this to yourself or you'll do this work with someone in the home there. Okay, and then you're going to just plot all this information out. So you'll graph the resulting data for your pulse rate. So we'll have and I'll show you folks. So let's see here. Okay, so we have here the trials are on the bottom. On the x-axis, the y-axis, you have your pulse rate. So you can start from, let's say, 60 and go, do 70, 80, 90, or maybe you want to do better to do 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and go up from there. Okay. All right. So can you all see that online? Hope so. Trials are on the x-axis, pulse rate on the y-axis. All right, folks, very good. So those of you in class here right now, you have quite a bit to keep yourselves busy. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to turn on the lights. I would start with, I wanted to finish first the homeostasis lab. That needs to work on that. So pair off, work with groups, that's fine. But again, everybody does the exercise as well as doing the recording and such, okay? And then you have the lab safety to do, review and do, as well as the skin models and such. All right, folks. So those of you that are online, this is the homeostasis lab. I will post the, take a couple minutes and get the lab safety up. I'll put that in unit 1 in coursework, and we'll go from there. And also put the, I'll put the document in coursework as well as in documents and resources, that lab safety. Okay, so let me just stop recording.